Gather round, everybody, and grab your eggnog, because for the Joy Content 2023 Christmas Special, I will be doing a dramatic reading of the Super Mario Wiki Kiddy Kong page. Kiddy Kong. Whoa, big man. Kiddy Kong, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Kiddy Kong, known in Japan as Dinky Kong, is a playable character and the sidekick of Dixie Kong in the games Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, and Donkey Kong Land 3. Kiddy is the cousin of Dixie and her sister, Tiny Kong, and the baby brother of Chunky Kong. Kiddy Kong is the youngest member of the Kong family, and his most notable attributes are his strength and weight, due to his huge body despite his young age. He is one of 3 Kongs who have not made any physical appearances in games not developed by Rare, the others being Swanky Kong and Chunky Kong. And here we have a picture of Kiddy Kong in Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. His species is Kong. His first appearance was in Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble in 1996. His latest appearance is in the Super Mario Bros. Movie as a cameo in 2023. His latest portrayal is Chris Sutherland in 2005. History: Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. In Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, Kiddy is first found by Dixie at Funky's Rentals, where Funky Kong gives her Kiddy to babysit. Together, the two Kongs start their adventure searching for the missing Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. At the end of their adventure in Castle Chaos, they discover the new leader of the Kremlin crew, Chaos, is a robot operated by Baron K. Rulenstein. In the post-game, Wrinkly Kong asks both Kongs to find the hidden banana birds hidden across the northern hemisphere to rescue the imprisoned Banana Queen. In the Game Boy Advance version, Kiddy, being a baby, is unable to compete in the Swanky's Dash minigame, so only Dixie can participate. And there is artwork of Kiddy and Dixie riding the hovercraft in Donkey Kong Country 3 here. Donkey Kong Land 3. In Donkey Kong Land 3, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong enroll in a contest in searching for the Lost World, and Dixie is left behind to babysit Kiddy Kong. She decides to participate in the contest and takes Kiddy along with her. The Kongs find out that Baron K. Rulenstein and the Kremlin crew are also searching for the Lost World. After defeating Baron K. Rulenstein, Dixie and Kiddy prove themselves heroic. It can be assumed that they won the Lost World contest. And there is a picture of Kiddy Kong as he appears in Donkey Kong Land 3 with his arms outstretched. Club Nintendo. Donkey Kong in Banana Day 24. In the Club Nintendo comic, Donkey Kong in Banana Day 24, a huge UFO begins pulling the Earth away from the sun, resulting in a sudden drop of temperature all over the planet. This also affects the Kongs' jungle, so Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong set off to carry out negotiations with the aliens. Kiddy Kong joins them on their mission into space. However, he stays in the space shuttle with Cranky Kong, while Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, and Dixie Kong begin discussions with the aliens. Their mission ultimately ends in success, and the aliens leave the planet in peace. At the end of the comic, Donkey Kong is depicted joyfully throwing Kiddy Kong in the air. And there is a picture of Kiddy Kong as he appears in Donkey Kong in Banana Day 24. He is sucking on his pacifier, except he's sucking on the wrong side. They didn't put it in his mouth correctly. Uho Uho Dai Shizen Gag Donkey Kong. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly. Kiddy appears in one chapter of the Uho Uho Dai Shizen Gag Donkey Kong manga, in a semi-adaptation of the Baby Kong Blues episode, replacing the titular character. Funky Kong is taking care of his little cousin, Kiddy, when work calls, and he asks DK to watch him in the meantime. DK can hardly deal with Kiddy's strength, and on his way to greet Candy, loses the baby and goes on a wild goose chase in order to save him from the dangers like the Barrel Works' conveyor belts, the factory's rocket barrel, a lake full of giant bite sizes, and a waterfall. Similar to the show, Kiddy comes undamaged from all of these situations, unlike DK, who is worn out by the time Funky returns to take his baby cousin back. Unlike Baby Kong, Kiddy has no misadventures with the Kremlings. And there is a cover picture from the chapter starring Kiddy, where DK is pushing him in a barrel stroller. Donkey Kong 64. While Kiddy does not physically appear in Donkey Kong 64, he is mentioned in the game's manual as being the younger brother of Chunky. Donkey Konga 2. In Donkey Konga 2, Kiddy is mentioned in one of Dixie's notes. In it, Dixie states that he played the bongos for the first time and understood the principle of hitting both sides at the same time immediately. Due to a translation oversight, Kiddy is referred to as Dinky, his Japanese name. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Kiddy Kong appears in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as part of Dixie Kong's Enhanced Spirit, which uses the same box artwork from Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. He does not have his own spirit, however. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Kiddy Kong makes a cameo appearance in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. As part of the Great Kong Army, he is enlisted by Mario, Princess Peach, and Toad to join the raid on Bowser. The Great Kong Army races along Rainbow Road on their way to Bowser's castle, but because of Bowser's prior knowledge of the attempted attack, they are ambushed by Bowser's army. Although it is still a minor appearance, the film marks Kiddy Kong's first physical appearance in over 17 years since the Game Boy Advance remake of Donkey Kong Country 3. And then there's a picture here that shows the scene from the Super Mario Bros. Movie that they are claiming he appears in. But if you look closely, it doesn't really look like him. I'm not gonna change it though. Unused appearances. Kiddy Kong was intended to appear in the unreleased Nintendo GameCube game, Donkey Kong Racing. He can be seen riding Ellie the elephant at the end of the trailer, and there is a picture of him on top of Ellie, alongside a bunch of other animal buddies from that trailer. General information. Physical description. Kiddy Kong has the typical ape-like attributes associated with every Kong, and his appearance has currently never changed. He is a portly toddler who wears light blue pajamas and sometimes a green pacifier, which he is only shown wearing in his artwork and never in-game. His pajamas are short-sleeved with a few yellow, round buttons on them, and his pants go all the way around his feet. Because of Kiddy's short and small legs, his pajamas appear to be a little too big for him. Kiddy's arms, however, appear to be quite large and burly, displaying his strength. Even as a toddler, he's much bigger than his partner, Dixie Kong, in size, and is about the same size as Donkey Kong. However, because he is so large, he is shown to be very heavy, and he can hardly be lifted up by Dixie. Kiddy Kong's hair appears to be a dark brown color, but is a little brighter near the top of his head, which forms a point similar to Donkey Kong's hair. His eyes are also brown, and they resemble Dixie and Diddy Kong's large eyes. Kiddy is shown to be a little chubby, as his mouth is much bigger than any other part of his face. While his mouth is very big, he has very small ears and a tiny nose. Kiddy is overall the youngest member of the Kong family, being 3 years old. And there is a picture of Kiddy Kong standing there. Powers and abilities. Kiddy Kong's main technique is his rolling ability, where it allows him to defeat many types of enemies, as well as enhance his jumping ability. If he rolls off a ledge, then jumps, he can make leaps that are much longer than the average jump. Kiddy can also skip across bodies of water by rolling off dry land and jumping just as he hits the surface. In fact, he can do multiple rolling jumps to bounce across the water that get progressively higher with each successive skip. This ability allows Kiddy to traverse long sections of water without having to swim through them. Given his strength, he can pick up objects and certain stunned enemies and throw them with ease. As the other Kongs, Kiddy has a decent running ability. Although young, he can climb as well as any other member of the Kong family. Some abilities of Kiddy Kong are revealed only when he teams up with Dixie. Using his strength, Kiddy can throw Dixie long distances. By tossing Dixie upwards, Kiddy can help her reach areas and objects that are not within their jumping range. When Kiddy is thrown upwards by Dixie, Kiddy falls down, smashing through fragile areas in the ground. This often reveals bonus barrels and other secrets. By often, they mean 3 times in the game, I think? Lastly, if Dixie throws Kiddy against a wall, then jumps on her cousin before the toddler stops rolling, she can ride on top of him as if he were a steel barrel. And there is a picture of Kiddy Kong jumping. Personality. Kiddy Kong, as his name implies, has a childish personality, being a toddler. For example, when Kiddy is defeated and loses a life, he throws a tantrum, crying loudly and slamming his fists down. He is simple and curious like a child. Dixie Kong first finds Kiddy chewing on an old tire, and when the player is not controlling him, he will often pull on his sock. However, he likely does not understand the greater consequences of his actions. For example, if Kiddy and Dixie get a game over, the two are imprisoned in a crib with child's toys. While Kiddy is clearly upset over being captured, the arrangement upsets him less than Dixie. Kiddy is also considered to have a personality similar to Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, as he seems to be getting into trouble all the time. As mentioned in Donkey Kong 2, Kiddy received a liking for playing the bongos when he learned how to play them. Portrayals: Mark Betteridge. DK's Yelp sound recycled and higher pitched from 1996, and Chris Sutherland. Diddy Kong's falling voice recycled and higher pitched from 2005. Profiles: Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Instruction booklet bio, page 14. Kiddy's a portly toddler with lots of power. He can reveal secret areas by breaking down doors and smashing the ground. He's much like Donkey and Diddy Kong in the way he seems to get into trouble all the time. Rareware. DKC Trilogy Cast List. Appears in DKC 3. Many of the Kongs find it alarming that Kiddy has reached such a size at the tender age of 3, and the fact that he seems to be curious and mischievous in proportion to his growth doesn't make things any easier for those who get themselves involved in babysitting. It was Dixie who found herself lumbered with this little cousin on her most recent escapade, during which Kiddy proved that the traditional Kong adventuring abilities, not to mention sheer brute strength, still run in the family. He's as wary of Kremlings as you'd expect for a kid of his age, but once he gets frustrated, it's the Krems who better watch out. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Spirit. The name is Dixie Kong and Kiddy Kong. There is an image. It is the two of them on the hovercraft. Game: Donkey Kong series. Type: Primary 3. Class: Legend. Effect: Grab, thrown items up. How to obtain Enhanced from Dixie Kong. Spirit Battle. Opponents: not applicable. Battle conditions: not applicable. Stage: not applicable. Song: not applicable. List of appearances by date. Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Playable character: 1996 for the Super Nintendo. Donkey Kong Land 3, playable character: 1997, Game Boy. Donkey Kong 2, cameo mentioned: 2004, Nintendo GameCube. Donkey Kong Country 3 Remake, playable character: 2005, Game Boy Advance. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, cameo as Spirit: 2018, for the Nintendo Switch. Gallery. For this subject's image gallery, see Gallery Kiddy Kong. There is a picture from Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, with Kiddy holding Dixie above him. There is another one from that same game of Kiddy walking. There is his sprite from Donkey Kong GB, Dinky Kong, and Dixie Kong, which is the Japanese version of Donkey Kong Land 3, which was for the Game Boy Color. And there is a card of him from the Donkey Kong card game, in which Kiddy Kong is making up Hogface. Names in other languages. Japanese. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but the translation is Dinky Kong. In French, he's Kiddy Kong. In German, Kiddy Kong. Italian, Kiddy Kong. Russian, Kiddy Kong. Spanish, Kiddy Kong. Trivia. Although Dinky Kong became Kiddy's Japanese name, it was also an English name, which Rare considered. During the development of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, Dinky was also a suggestion for the name of Dixie Kong. They don't mention it on this page, but Dinky was also considered for Diddy's name. Furthermore, Tiny Kong was another name considered. It would later become the name of a different character debuting in Donkey Kong 64, released 3 years later after the release of Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Kiddy Kong is the first playable Kong in the Donkey Kong series to not have the initials DK in his English name. And then there's the references. And that's it. This has been a dramatic reading of the Kiddy Kong Mario Wiki page. And a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.